Notebook Activity 13, A Nation at Risk. The findings and outcomes. Findings, academic underachievement. Outcomes. The report recommended strengthening high school graduation requirements, adopting standards, lengthening the school day, and increasing the rewards in and respect for the profession of teaching. It led professional organizations to develop national academic standards in each of the content areas and prompted states to adopt academic standards. These actions contributed to today's tighter alignment among standards, the curriculum, and standardized tests or assessments. Highlights: standards based on education, STEM, framework for the 21st century learning, standards based. Notebook Activity 14, School Choices, Public Schools, Private Schools. School options in the public schools are magnet schools, charter schools, virtual. Magnet schools, public schools with a focused curriculum on arts, mathematics, and science. They are trying to attract a diverse group of students from different backgrounds from across the state or district. Usually the family chooses a school based on its curriculum. These schools were called magnet schools because magnet, like they were meant to draw students to them through their unique character and curriculum. Today we can see these specialized curriculums at work not only in urban public schools as extensions of the efforts that began in the era of desegregation, but also in a wide spectrum of schools across the country, including as the focal point of many charter schools. Charter schools, public schools created by teachers, parents, and nonprofit organizations under a contract with the state or district. Their main goal is to improve academic performance. Montessori schools, for example, Edison schools are all charter schools. Virtual schools, online public alternative schools, offered for students who might not graduate on time or who cannot go to an in-person course. They are tuition free. Those are public school options. Private schools, parochial schools, which are religious schools, private schools that are supported by religious affiliations, they have been found to have a higher rate of academic achievement. Home schools, learning in the home, often done because parents want control over moral learning or does not like how local public schools are run, and they have instructional freedom. Notebook Activity 15, Early Childhood Education Programs. Head Start, federally funded program for 3 to 5-year-old children from low-income families to provide educational services and emotional, social, health, nutritional, and psychological support that will prepare them to enter kindergarten. Montessori schools, an educational program originally designed for 3 to 6-year-olds that is well organized into subject-based work centers where children interact with the classroom materials. It includes little or no large group instruction, uses uninterrupted extended work period so students can explore their environment, and lastly, mastery of observable skills is recorded by the teacher. High scope approach. Based on the belief that children are active learners and on the child development theories of Jean Piaget, lessons are designed to relate to students' lives and environment. They use developmental checklists, and students design portfolios to showcase their work. The Reggio Emilia approach ensures children, their families, their teachers, and the entire community take an active role in the education of each child. Project-based curriculum built on student interest. The Reggio Emilia curriculum for early childhood education began in the Italian city of Reggio Emilia in 1963 and is based on the belief in the infinite potential of each child and of children's rights. Notebook Activity 16, Student Engagement. Student engagement. 9th grade, common level for students to leave school. 3 out of 4 graduate high school. Low income, higher dropout rate. More females than males finish high school. 57% of students with disabilities graduate. 22% are in the workforce. Resiliency, ability to recover from difficulties. Many young have this. Risk factors, poverty, low expectation schools, lack of family support, personal attributes, belief, and self contributed to resilience. Socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status plays a major role in test performance. Ethnically diverse low income have greater chances for hunger, environmental hazards, substitute teachers, teacher turnover. Teachers need to have high expectations. Student assessments, differentiated instruction, and connections to real-world experiences will assist low-income students in higher level achievement. Allowing students to create and complete projects of personal interest may also encourage their involvement. Access to technology. Technology provides valuable tools for helping students learn. At-risk students may not have access to technology outside of school. 1 in 3 teachers report their schools do not have up-to-date technology. Teachers in low-income schools tend to use technology to support learning of basic skills. Students may use the internet to research nearly any subject, yet teachers need to be aware that not all students have access at home and should adjust their assignments accordingly. To encourage completion of assignments and projects, schools may loan computers to students. Notebook Activity 17, Parental Involvement, Communicating with Families. Establish open lines of communication regarding student progress. Have translators available to ensure understanding. Inform families about students' strengths and needs. Realize the value and usefulness of sending home paper notes. Send letters or speak with families face-to-face to encourage involvement in class field trips. Engaging families. Teachers and families with common backgrounds seem to communicate better than those from differing backgrounds. Teachers who are involved in the community seem more accessible to families. Parents and teachers need to be partners in the students' academic and social development. Parents in high-need school are less involved than those in other schools. PTA, PTO. Research shows Parent-Teacher Association organization meetings are attended by 9 out of 10 parents or family members. Research also reveals approximately half of those surveyed have volunteered at the school, have participated in a school fundraiser, and or have visited the school at least monthly. Parent and community involvement. High-quality schools are committed to increasing their parental involvement. Strategies include sending newsletters, using technology and telephoning, hosting student family member activities, holding meetings in diverse languages, and sponsoring school fairs and performances. Parent community liaisons and parent advocacy groups may assist in connecting schools with families of poverty and families with cultural differences. Parent-teacher conferences. Research shows that 8 out of 10 parents have attended a parent-teacher conference. Discuss students' academic, behavioral, and social strengths and needs. Have translators available. Ask questions and listen to the answers. Be flexible with the meeting times to accommodate family schedules. Notebook Activity 18, Culture. School culture generally refers to the belief, perceptions, relationships, attitudes, and written and unwritten rules that shape and influence every aspect of how a school functions, but the term also encompasses more concrete issues such as the physical and emotional safety of students, the orderliness of classrooms and public spaces, or the degree to which a school embraces and celebrates racial, ethnic, linguistic, or cultural diversity. School cultures can be divided into 2 basic forms, positive and negative cultures. Enculturation, the process by which an individual learns the culture that they are surrounded by. It enables them to function as members of that society. Enculturation teaches, amongst other things, moral values, behaviors, expectations, rituals, and the focus of the article language. This helps unify people to create functional societies, refers to the process by which one acquires a home culture. Hidden curriculum, The unstated outcomes of education that students experience and learn by spending time in school. These outcomes may be intended or unintended, positive or negative. Regularities of schooling, a term coined by Seymour Sarason to describe the traditions and practices of schooling that are taken for granted and are not questioned, even though schooling could be organized and carried out in other ways. Notebook Activity 19, Sexual Orientation, ways to support LGBTQ students. Adopt textbooks that have references from LGBTQ role models. Respond to anti-LGBTQ language. Designate your classroom as a safe place. Support the anti-bullying policy at your school. Designate your classroom as a safe place, again, and listen to your students. Notebook Activity 20, Family Structures. Describe the different types of family structures. Children in married households, 27%, the different structures are children in married households. About 27% of children in single-parent households live either with a mother or a single father. Children living with grandparents, about 34% without parents in the home. Children living with same-sex couples, children living in foster homes, either relative or non-relative, children living in group home situations, institutions, and 5% living in non-parent homes. As a teacher, to build positive relationships with diverse family structures, I will get to know and treat each family differently. Don't assume classroom books with different family structures. Notebook Activity 21, Prejudice and Discrimination. How will you demonstrate valuing differences? By showing students that there are multiple perspectives that can be taught depending on racial, ethnic, or socioeconomic groups. Prejudice. Prejudice is an unjustified or incorrect attitude towards an individual based solely on the individual's membership of a social group. For example, a person may hold a prejudiced view towards a certain race or gender. Discrimination is the behavior or actions, usually negative, toward an individual or group of people, especially on the basis of sex, race, social status, social class. A prejudiced person may not act on their attitude. Therefore, someone can be prejudiced towards a certain group but not discriminate against them. Also, prejudice includes all three components of an attitude: affective, behavioral, and cognitive, whereas discrimination just involves behavior. 3 strategies for keeping prejudice and discrimination out of your classroom. 1. A social reconstruction approach to the curriculum. This is based on the belief that the purpose of education is to prepare students to contribute to reducing inequities, power differences, and problems within society. The goal is greater social justice for those in society who are oppressed. 2. Teach lessons directly that actively contribute to affirming diversity and reducing prejudice and bias. It may require more risk-taking and personal growth to create an environment where issues of prejudice and bias, whether on a personal, classroom, school-wide, or societal level, are addressed. 3. To work toward transforming schools so that equity is achieved throughout the school as an organization and society at large. Notebook Activity 22, ELL students, English language learner, a student who is limited in English proficiency. Content is designed to provide second language learners instruction in content and language. Pull Out ESL is a program model for ELL students in which students are placed in mainstream or sheltered English immersion classrooms, but are regularly pulled out of class for ESL lessons taught by an ESL English as a second language teacher. Sheltered English instruction, grade level content area instruction provided in English in a manner that makes it comprehensible to ELL students while supporting their English language development, simplifying the language without watering down the content. Today, the majority of ELL, English language learner students, study alongside their English-speaking peers and are held accountable to the same curriculum standard and take the same high-stakes tests. Structured English Immersion, a program model for English language learners that combines English as a second language, sheltered content area instruction, and primary language support, sometimes called Structured English Immersion. Bilingual, a strategy in which school subjects are taught in both the learner's original language and second language. Two-way immersion, an educational program that provides instruction in English and a second language. Newcomer program, for beginning level English language learner students who have been in the United States for only 1 or 2 years. Programs typically provide intensive English instruction and may include some native language instruction and ample primary language support. Opportunity to learn standards means that English language learner students have to be provided with appropriate accommodations to support their learning as outlined in the standard. 5 strategies for supporting ELL students: incorporate language objectives in lessons, give students more time on tests, incorporate cognitive strategies, incorporate social strategies, treat English language learning students the same as other students, do not discriminate in your classroom. Notebook activity 23, domestic issues and dangers. Homelessness. Families with low incomes often temporarily end up homeless. Children that are homeless can attend school. However, they may not be able to focus effectively on all academics. Schools must provide a high-quality education to homeless students. Children left at home. With family structures today, many students are left at home alone after school. When a child is left at home, more injuries and accidents can occur. They are also at risk for behavioral problems, low social confidence, and poor academic performance. They are more apt to smoke, drink alcohol, and do drugs. As a teacher, you will want to be sensitive to these realities. Child abuse. Students who are abused may arrive to school hungry, bruised, and depressed. They may arrive early or stay late as school becomes a sanctuary from the abuse. As a teacher, you will need to report suspected abuse to your supervisor and then make sure your supervisor followed up with the appropriate agency. Schools can be proactive and provide parents with workshops on parenting skills. Bullying. Huge issues in our schools today, defined as behavior of students who establish dominance over another student through physical or verbal harassment, is perpetuated over time on the victim, can take place in person or electronically. Bullying electronically is called cyberbullying. Victims may not know who is doing the bullying. As a teacher, you cannot ignore bullying in school. One way you can help decrease bullying is by modeling appropriate behaviors. Sexual harassment. Common occurrence for many students. The most common type of sexual harassment is verbal. Sexual harassment can be done in person, on social networks, email, and text. Suicide. Third leading death among adolescents. Attempted suicides are a cry for help. As a teacher, you need to be aware of the signs that a student is thinking about suicide. Warning signs include change in mood, change in sleep pattern, anxiety, and withdrawal. Substance abuse. Teenagers will question whether or not to experiment with cigarettes, alcohol, or drugs. Sexuality and pregnancy. Sexuality begins in the early teenage years. Many teenagers associate sex with adulthood. Girls associate sex with being accepted. Boys associate sex with power. Teenage girls' rates are declining but still remain high. Teen mothers need to stay involved with school for the welfare of the baby and herself. Racism, sexism, and ableism. Racism, the conscious or unconscious belief that racial differences make one group superior to others. Sexism is based on sex or gender, especially against women and girls. Belief that one sex is superior to or more valuable than another sex. Ableism is the unconscious belief that persons with disabilities are inferior to persons without disabilities. Engagement in school. 3 in 4 students who enter 9th grade will graduate with a regular diploma. Not all families can provide technology in the home. This can lead students to not completing school on time.